Welcome to the most must-see podcast in pro wrestling history. Welcome to Mark's Side of the Ring. Our views, our opinions, our predictions, spoiler-free on all things AEW and WWE. I am your main Mark, Miguel Minetti, alongside are my two fine co-hosts, Nick Fiorentino, Fred Decor. What's going on, boys?
What's happening? How are you, Miguel?
We're doing great. We're doing great. And the reason we're doing great is we have a lot of great topics to discuss today in today's episode, a jam-packed edition, of course. And of course, we're going to jump right on into it with the big congratulations to our special guest last week here, Eric Bischoff. The news came and broke this morning by WWE that he is going to be inducted into the 2021 Hall of Fame. How cool it was to have the future Hall of Famer Eric Bischoff on our show last week. Guys, what did you think when you first heard the news this morning that Eric Bischoff was getting inducted into this year's Hall of Fame session?
I was very excited for him. I thought it completely deserved and long overdue. I ironically asked him last week on the podcast if after saying that he didn't see himself working for WWE again, if he ever thought maybe a TV appearance, like a one-off. Well, here it is. I never thought it would come in the form of the Hall of Fame. So I am very excited. I don't know if he knew then or not. Obviously, he wasn't going to tell us schmucks before it got announced by WWE. But I'm very excited that he's going in. And like I said, long overdue.
Did any of us, I know it wasn't me, but I don't remember, did anybody ask him if he was ever going to get inducted to the Hall of Fame? Nick, I feel like you might have asked him that, right? Or no?
No, Fred, he misunderstood Fred's question at first to why isn't he going into the Hall of Fame with the NWO, and he kind of said he didn't, feel like he needed to do that. And then when Fred explained what he meant by, the fact that he should have inducted the NWO, then he understood the question a little bit. But, we talked about it 2 days ago when we found out he was going to be on Corey Graves' show, that this was a very strong possibility. And it does seem like they like to do this, breaking news in front of the person and get the true live reaction. They did it with Hurricane Helms, very emotional, explaining to Molly Holly. Seems like they're doing it. They did it in the NFL with Jimmy Johnson, on Fox NFL, announcing it right in front of them, and you get their true reaction. So I like that they do that. But, if we telegraphed it 48 hours ago, saying he's going on the bump, this is why he's going on the bump, I'm sure he had an idea. What relevance at this point does he have with anything they're doing right now? So I'm happy for him. He does deserve it. I made a joke to him earlier. I said last week on the show, there was no acceptable reason for him to not induct the NWO into the Hall of Fame, but I think WWE figured out an acceptable reason for him to not induct the NWO into the Hall of Fame, which actually kind of raises two questions. Who inducts him? I feel like it's probably going to be DDP. I could see Bruce Pritchard, who's been a longtime friend of his. I doubt they'd go the Conrad Thompson route, but you never know. But, who do you guys think is going to induct him? And now that he's off the table, who's inducting the NWO?
So in our group chat, one of the guys actually said somebody pretty cool, and I didn't even think about it. And I don't think it's ever going to happen, but he said, what if Ted Turner inducted Eric Bischoff into the Hall of Fame? Right? That would be way outside the box.
That would be awesome. But I've heard, I think Bischoff has mentioned that he doesn't make TV appearances anymore because he's suffering from dementia.
Yeah, you're right. I did hear that.
Oh, shit. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so as far
or something, I don't know if he has Alzheimer's or dementia or something, but he's not. I mean, he's okay. He's not like bedridden or anything, but he's not, So I don't know. How about Vince though? How ironic would that be?
Yeah,
he doesn't like to be on the show though.
No, he's only inducted Stone Cold.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Like if Vince was going to induct a second person, would it be a guy that was, truth be told, made in WCW really and not WWE? I don't think that would happen.
The thing with the Hall of Fame is it's a television show, and they always get people, sometimes the inductors are just as big as the inductees. Like when Jim Cornette inducted the Rock and Roll Express a few years ago. That was a big deal, and even Eric Bischoff, when he inducted DDP, like that was a big thing. So, sometimes the guys that induct them are big deal. But with Bischoff, like I would have said maybe Kevin Nash because they're they were close, and with or Hogan, but they're getting inducted, right? So that kind of throws that off. DDP is an option.
You know what? Fred, you just kind of threw an idea while you were talking. You mentioned Jim Cornette inducting, the Rock and Roll Express, a big time feud against them. What if they get what if a Bill Goldberg inducts them, since he was such a big, we've seen them before, I guess is my point. Guys who were like their biggest adversaries in the induction. So maybe DDP does do Eric Bischoff, and maybe Bill Goldberg. It's got to be a WCW guy. I mean, it's got to be a WCW guy to me.
Yeah.
To induct him, and you can't use Sting. You can't use. I mean, I guess you could use Ric Flair. He's still under contract, but Ric Flair's not inducting Eric Bischoff with the issues that they've had. And I know they're cool now, but that would be kind of weird. They do say that the inductees, do get a say, like they get to choose. Do you think that's true? Like whoever he wants to induct him, they're going to allow?
Not whoever, but they do get like options. Like they'll be given a list of people, and they get to choose from that, or they can request, but WWE can say no if it's somebody that they're not going to have on their show.
I feel like Tony Schiavone would have been a cool move if he wasn't AEW.
Yeah, Schiavone would have been cool. That would have been good.
I could see Goldberg doing it, because Goldberg was made by Eric Bischoff and the WCW machine, right? I mean, he's one of the truest, ground up superstars, right? That came from the WCW power plant. Right? They talked about in the documentary that he was born and bred from the WCW power plant. So I could see him inducting Eric Bischoff, because he is Eric Bischoff's probably greatest creation not to work in another rival professional wrestling company before coming to WCW, right? I mean, I'm sure WO is credited as his greatest creation ever, but all those guys were former WWE superstars before they came to WCW. So I could see Goldberg actually being the guy, Nick. I think that's going to be the guy who would make it.
And fingers crossed that it counts as one of his appearances, so we don't have to see him in a 3-minute match against Bobby Lashley or whoever he would be fighting.
Ooh, Goldberg, Bobby Lashley, that would be good.
Oh, Fred, will you sit down?
I didn't even think about that. That'll be fun. Hopefully it's SummerSlam.
So we do have to touch, speaking of Eric Bischoff, we do want to quickly touch on something that happened this past week. And Nick, because you're the man behind the scenes with this, I'm going to let you tell the story about your infamous encounter with Wrestling Inc. there at the website.
Yeah, so I want to watch, because I certainly don't want this to come off as sour grapes, but we were in touch with Wrestling Inc. If you watch our show and you enjoy our show, WrestlingInc.com. You probably know them as soon as you log on to their site, you win a free, iPad, or you win you can't click more than 2 links before, you got to enter an email to win a free iPad, or some kind of glitch virus, fucking whatever they use on their website. And that's after you stream through all of their news and topics that are 2 weeks old that they just put on the website then and there. But I digress. We were in contact with them because, truth be told, we are fans of Wrestling Inc. We have a couple different wrestling news outlets that we use, and we thought that the Eric Bischoff show, which, is available in our archives, and I know most of you have watched it by now, and the feedback's been great. And, truth be told, we don't pay for these people when they come on our show, right? We ask, we talk. Miguel, just earlier today was having email exchanges with Eric Bischoff. Here's Eric Bischoff, just got inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, and one of our co-hosts, Miguel, is emailing him congratulations and having a conversation with him. So we're there, right? So we thought that we wanted to, extend some quotes that we thought were pretty valuable in terms of Eric Bischoff's thoughts on the end of Revolution and the thoughts on the end, or the Christian reveal and everything. And I typed out all of the quotes. Wrestling Inc. seemed very, very interested, and I sent them to them on Sunday. So they had them on Sunday. So now Eric Bischoff goes on 83 Weeks, and listen, it's Eric Bischoff's show. He can talk about whatever the fuck he wants to talk about. But Eric Bischoff talks about the exact same stuff that we just had him on. And Eric Bischoff, the first thing he said when Miguel asked him the question was, I was dreading this question. I knew it was going to be asked. You're the first person to ask me about it. Like, we broke like the quotes for the Eric Bischoff. Like, we had those quotes. Those are ours. Whatever happens after the fact is fine. But we had them first. And when we sent them to Wrestling Inc. seemed very interested until we sent the quotes. Then we never heard back from them again. So then, a few days go by and I see, one of their headlines, Eric Bischoff. They tweet out Eric Bischoff's thoughts on the end of AEW Revolution or Christian Reveal. So I was like, awesome. They used our quotes. Click on it. No, it's 83 weeks. Eric Bischoff in 83 weeks. Like, I mean, if you're such a failing wrestling website that you have to use 83 weeks, you can't help out a group of friends who got together to do a podcast a year ago and, are looking to get views, looking to get new audiences. We figured we'd help you out. You could help us out. But if you're not interested in the small business podcasts and everything, and you have to cling your name to a big market name, that's totally fine. You can rest assured that we will not do that going forward, and we will not come to you with any more news quotes. We'll go to a smaller market wrestling site, and we'll try to put them on the map, because the fact of the matter is we're not going anywhere. The three of us, myself, Fred, Miguel, we're not going anywhere. We've had Carlito, we've had Conrad, we've had Eric Bischoff, we've gotten retweets, we've gotten, email exchanges, we've gotten all of that stuff, and we've had 500 combined views on the Eric Bischoff show alone between SoundCloud, iTunes, however you get your podcasts. So we're going to continue to do what we're going to continue to do. We're going to continue to break stories, and we're going to continue to get the best of the best guests on so that we can give you guys the best shows, our opinions, our views, everything Miguel said in the beginning, spoiler free, and everything WWE, AEW, and all that good stuff. So I hope it doesn't come off as sour grapes. But we're going to find a different news outlet when we want to, send some quotes to somebody else, and maybe, Wrestling Inc., you guys can, and by all means, if you want to come on next week and we could talk about it, come on next week. You guys have your own podcast. Come on our podcast next week and you guys can debate us. And you can tell me I'm an idiot. You can tell me whatever you want to tell me. You can call them whatever you want to call them. But come on our show and have a dialogue, because the last time we've had a dialogue was when we gave you guys quotes from the Eric Bischoff show. You decided to take somebody else's quotes. So if it sounds like sour grapes, I'm sorry, it sounds like sour grapes. We take a lot of pride in what we do. We felt we had some really great content. We did, and we're going to continue to have really good content.
And this is an open invitation for Raj Giri, one of the owners of Wrestling Inc., to come on. We want to invite him on next week, like Nick said, just to discuss what went wrong. I'd love the opportunity. We'd all love that opportunity, just to see if we can kind of right the ship. But that's for another day. Let's talk about something that's a little bit more happier news, and that's the fact that, and Fred, I'm going to say it right now, we were able to successfully get WrestleMania tickets today. We're going to WrestleMania 37, sir.
You got to at least say you're on the road to WrestleMania.
I'm pointing to the sign because I'm going to WrestleMania.
Yes, that is right. This morning we went through hellfire and brimstone to get those tickets. Myself, Fred, and two of our other friends who are big wrestling marks, we were able to get WrestleMania tickets. We were super nervous. Man, I don't know. There were some glitches there. It kicked me off. It said I was a bot, so I was freaking out. I said, gentlemen, you have to do this for wrestling, mankind in general. So I'm excited.
Not
Fred,
done.
How excited are you, sir, to finally be going back to WrestleMania? Finally, WrestleMania is back in business.
Back in business. Dude, I am beyond words. The fact that I know officially I'm going is incredible. I mean, I've been excited for a while, hoping it was going to happen, but we didn't know where it was going to be at one point. If it, wherever it was going to be, was going to have fans. We didn't know. Finally, they announced that, kind of alluded that there would be fans, but nothing concrete. But, waiting for tickets to go on sale, finding out tickets are going on sale, then not going on sale.
It's been
finally going on sale.
It's been a hell of a year with an emotional roller coaster, right? For the two of us who were planning on going last year,
yeah,
to obviously, rightfully so, have the rug pulled out under us 2 or 3 weeks before WrestleMania, to be left in doubt for almost an entire year whether WrestleMania was going to take place in front of fans again the following year. They said LA, they moved it to Tampa. Question marks came. Will they have fans? How many fans? Tickets were supposed to go on sale on Tuesday. They pulled the rug there. They changed it to Thursday, but we're finally going back to WrestleMania.
Roll that.
With that in mind, and I can't wait to be there, and I'm sure you're thinking the same as well. Nick, I'll throw this question to you. So they announced on Raw Monday at the top of the hour, Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley, WWE Championship is officially on for WrestleMania. What did you think, Nick, when you just saw it at the top of the hour as Raw kicked off the air?
I'm disappointed in the match. I mean, I guess I try to have an open mind, and I try to think about, Drew McIntyre, his entire time, he was never champion with a live audience. He didn't win the title with a live audience. His entire reign was without, a champion, without a crowd. And the only time he had a crowd was at the Royal Rumble, and the crowd went crazy for him. When he eliminated, Brock Lesnar and everything, the crowd popped big. We were all excited for him to take down Brock Lesnar. We knew that was going to, well, we shouldn't say we knew it was going to happen. We were hoping it was going to happen, but we've seen Brock Lesnar retain before. But, I guess for me, it's one of those things where I can understand why they're doing it. And I am interested in seeing the crowd reaction to Drew McIntyre. If COVID never existed, I think the fans would have turned on Drew McIntyre a long time ago. We know that, nothing gold can last, and fans are so wishy-washy nowadays, myself included, in what, I get tired of seeing time and time again. I truly think that build, bodies, the look and feel, like the match makes sense. I don't know if it's going to be the main event. And when I say the main event, I mean Sunday night, the last match of the show, I think is going to be Roman Reigns and Edge. But I do think that Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre will put on a good match. I think they're both super talented. I'm interested in seeing how the crowd reacts to Drew McIntyre. Like I mentioned, I think they would have booed him if COVID didn't exist, but, it did. And I think people such as yourselves are going to be so excited to be there. Congratulations on getting the tickets. I think that it's not really going to matter, and you can kind of put anything. You could put Shane McMahon and Braun Strowman, and that dumpster fire of a match, and people are probably going to cheer it because why not? You're at a live event. When did you ever think you were going to be able to do that again? So I think that the crowd and the electricity is going to be very, very high. And I think Drew McIntyre deserves a main event title match in front of a live crowd. So
I tweeted to John Canton, who's somebody else I follow on Twitter. If you guys know him, he does reviews for the weekly shows as well as the pay-per-views. And he was talking about the main event of WrestleMania, or that main event, I should say, McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley for the WWE Championship. And a fan asked him, well, is that really will the fans really be invested into that match? And I wrote, based on everything that's happening, you could put R-Truth versus Akira Tozawa. No disrespect to those two gentlemen, but you could put that match for the WWE Championship, and the fans would be going insane just to be able to be there. And he actually liked it and said, I 100% agree. So to Nick's point, I think this year, right, and I think that's part of the reason why that with COVID, everything going on, that it's okay that they don't have the full main event when we're less than 4 weeks away heading into WrestleMania, right? Because I think no matter what matches you put on there, and I think they're going to do a nice job these next 3.5 weeks kind of building the card as best as they can, kind of with the late announcement with tickets and all. I know myself, I know Fred, we're marks, we're going to be going nuts no matter who comes out, but I think that's going to be the vast majority of the fans in attendance those two nights, right? They're just going to be going nuts no matter what. But with that in mind, Fred, I wanted to ask you, and I know we kind of touched on this before, but now that it's official, do you think Drew and Lashley deserves the main event slot of one of the two nights, or would you put Belair and Sasha?
It's hard. On one hand, I do think they deserve that. I think the WWE Championship deserves that. I think Drew McIntyre deserves that, and I think Bobby Lashley deserves that. With that being said, I think the same for Sasha and Belair. I think that as far as a hyped match, they have one of the most hyped matches on the show. Notwithstanding that Bianca won the Rumble, but just in general, I think that's one of the matches people have been waiting for a while, and it's finally happening. But, I don't want to see WrestleMania happen without Drew main eventing this year. I think after last year, anything less is just not fair to him, to be honest. And it's not like he's just getting it. He's earned it throughout the year, right? He basically has carried the company for the majority of this whole COVID era, the hardest time that this company has ever endured. You know, harder than when Shawn was on top in 95 and 96, that's been, talked about, and heralded with the whole, NWO thing when he was on top, harder than, when Eddie Guerrero was champion and SmackDown business was down. I mean, there was no business. You know what I'm saying? Business wasn't down. Business was non-existent. So I think, I think Drew did a great job as champion. He did as best of a job as he could without having fans, without
Are we overhyping Sasha and Belair though? Like, why does that need to be the last match when you talk about like only one match, women's match has main evented or WrestleMania, and like Becky Lynch's origin story started in SummerSlam. Like Ronda Rousey started the minute she entered at the end of the Royal Rumble. Like it was destined to be there. And Charlotte, being the ace of this deck, can always be thrown into a match for, instant appeal. Like those are three of the biggest names. Like I'm not saying I'm not excited for Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. I think most of the matches at WrestleMania are matches that people are excited for. That's why it's held at WrestleMania. But what about that feud? It's not long and dragged out. Like we knew that eventually they were going to fight, but there was no like tease early on that I saw that I was like, "Ooh, I got to see this match." Like it's a match that's going to be good, but it can open the show and get the same effect. I think the last two matches of the nights need to be the WWE and the Universal title. Those are the two biggest stories. Those are the most deserving people to me. And put the women's title match, and there's nothing against the women or anything. I'm excited to watch that match. And would anybody here be surprised if it was the best match?
No,
of course not. But like, I don't know.
I mean,
deserving of a main event.
If it wasn't two nights, then it wouldn't have main evented. But
I agree.
With it being two nights, I can see it main eventing. Now, again, people were clamoring for this to main event one of the nights before Drew and Lashley was made. So that may change people's views. People may now think that Drew and Lashley should go last on one of the nights and not and Bianca. But, I mean, honestly, wherever you put it, it doesn't really matter. Either match. This WrestleMania, the main event is what it is. And that's one of my problems with it being two nights, which I've discussed. I don't like it because there should be one WrestleMania main event, not two. And, I mean, yes, WrestleManias for the last 10 years have had multiple main events, but I mean one main event, the last fucking match. And that's the highest, thing in the business is the last match at WrestleMania. Not saying that it's the biggest match, but it's still the last match at Mania. So, and
that Fred DeCourt F-bomb is brought to you by WrestlingInc.com.
There you go.
Get all your news at WrestlingInc.com.
I mean, it's a big deal, and if it was a one-night show, it'd be Edge and Roman, and rightfully so. And I think, to me, I'm still looking at the Sunday night main event as the main event. So I think that'll be Edge and Roman, and in the end, I think that's all that's going to matter.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot can happen between now or Sunday, which is Fastlane, and WrestleMania. I think they're going to do a really nice job, or the best job they can do, building McIntyre and Lashley. So I could see them easily pivoting and putting that as the Saturday night main event.
And let me just jump in. I also wouldn't be surprised, based on the feud that they've been having and the match that they're going to have on Sunday, if Sheamus gets thrown into that and it becomes a triple threat. Now you have Sheamus versus Lashley versus McIntyre for WWE Championship in a triple threat, which I think would be huge. Now I like triple threat matches. I'm not against them at Mania. One of my favorite Mania matches of all time, and in my opinion, one of the best main events of all time. Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Chris Benoit, WrestleMania 20, right? But
I thought you were going to say the Daniel Bryan match at WrestleMania 30, because that was phenomenal too with Batista.
That was phenomenal, but
yeah, and I agree.
With the exception of Shawn Taker from 25, Benoit, Shawn, and Triple H, I think is one of the best Mania matches of all time. Not just triple threats, matches. But anyway, so I'm not against a triple threat, but at the same time, I do like a singles one-on-one main event, right? old school. But I think, that'll be Edge and Roman. I mean, of course, Daniel Bryan could get in. We'll get to that in regards to Fastlane. They could both be triple threats. Who knows? But if there's one that I would rather be a triple threat, and it's nothing against Bryan, would be making Sheamus, Drew, and Lashley a triple threat. So we'll see, though. We'll see what happens. Fastlane, we'll have a little more clearer picture. Because, honestly, I mean, what does Sheamus do then? They've been building Sheamus up. Sheamus has been on a tear on Raw for the last few months. He's been feuding with Drew McIntyre. To just having them be in a bullshit match after all this is like pointless. You put all this TV time invested into Sheamus and building him back up to just let it drop. It'd be a mistake.
Well, our Fastlane predictions are coming up shortly. We're going to talk everything Fastlane. We're going to end the show with that. But before we get there, there's one other topic I want to address with you guys, and that's what happened last night on AEW.
Oh, NXT was awesome, right? when Finn Balor and Karrion Kross had that stare down, holy shit. Bro, I can't wait for fucking TakeOver, Stand and Deliver. April 7th, April 8th, live on the WWE Network, now on Peacock.
Nice. And we know Fred's loyalty to AEW is bar none.
After that fucking piece of shit pay-per-view I watched a couple weeks ago, that ruined it for me. Well, it was a dud, no pun intended.
Nevertheless, last night...
That Fred AEW critique is brought to you by Wrestling Inc. Wrestling Inc. Make sure you get all of your wrestling news from...
That AEW critique was brought to you by Fred D. Court.
Wow. All right. Well, if we ever get Tony Khan on here, I can't wait for that one-on-one between Fred and Tony Khan. But
I'm kidding about Tony Khan.
Speaking of Khan, last night AEW did put on, in its main event of Dynamite, an unsanctioned lights-out match between Dr. Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa, and it was actually one of the most brutal women's matches I've ever seen. What did you think, Nick, when you saw this match, especially the very end with Britt Baker's face as a crimson mask, blood dripping all over her face, almost like a shot of Austin and Brett in WrestleMania 13 with blood coming down her face while she's in a submission hold?
Yeah, I mean, it's not for me. I'm not into that. I mean, but it's nothing against. I mean, maybe it is. I mean, I'm not interested in watching women wrestlers get busted open like that. Is it gonna happen? I mean, when Becky Lynch got busted open at the hands of Nia Jax, I thought that was awesome. If Ronda Rousey got busted open, I'd have no issue with that. So maybe I'm a little bit of a hypocrite. I don't know, but. I just am not interested in seeing women get busted open. We know, if it happened truthfully and it was a hard way, fine. Then to me it adds to the match. But that wasn't hard way. That was definitely cut. And I'm not interested in that. It didn't do anything to elevate. Didn't do anything. I think the only reason it was big the first time it happened is because it was the first time it happened. If you go to the well too many times, I just think, it's just not for me.
I was going to ask both of you, actually, do you think blading has a place in pro wrestling in 2021, or is it kind of archaic at this point?
If it tells a story, I think it's fine. I think, as JR has mentioned on his podcast, it's sometimes you need it. I mean, imagine having that, to Fred's point, I know it was a shitty ending and Fred didn't like the pay-per-view, but imagine having a barbed wire explosion death match and nobody gets busted open in it. It's like, anytime there's a last man standing match, like I remember the last man standing matches with Shawn Michaels and Triple H, and they're both fucking busted open. Like, to me, it adds a little bit extra to it. I'll tell you, I'm coming off as a sexist by saying that I don't like the women doing it, but I do like the men doing it. But I mean, I can't be the only person that feels that way. And it's, to me, it's just, I'm not into it.
Nick, I'm with you 100% on that. I have to agree with you completely. On one point, yeah, I think blading is a little archaic, and it's not something we need to necessarily see often. Like back in the day, almost every pay-per-view main event ended in blood. I don't think we need that, but
right.
Here and there, it definitely makes a dramatic effect when not overused. With that being said, if guys get open the hard way, do it as often as you want. As far as the women are concerned, again, to Nick's point, not my cup of tea. I don't find seeing women completely bloody as entertainment. Personally, I think that's in poor taste, especially in 2021. I think it was, of ill judgment on AEW's behalf to have that. And this is not a criticism of blood in wrestling. Again, like I just said, I'm not against it. But women bleeding on TV, I don't know if that's necessary. Again, if it was the hard way, sure. We've seen it before. Like Nick said, with Becky Lynch when Nia Jax busted her nose. We've seen it with Ronda Rousey. Victoria and Trish, they had their hardcore match years ago at Survivor Series. Trish busted Victoria's nose the hard way. She had a bloody nose. That's different. But to see a huge blade job, maybe if it was pay-per-view, that I could get behind it a little more. But I mean, in general, that's not my thing.
Well,
with the women.
That was my observation, right? Is that I was like, oh, wow, it's happened on a Dynamite. Like, that's something they should have probably saved for the pay-per-view that just happened at Revolution.
And you know what? In this day, it was the norm back in the day, although WWE didn't do much blood on live TV, pay-per-view, yeah. But I just think it makes them look like out of touch. It's 2021, and, people are talking about it, sure, and that's what you want. You want people to talk about it. And people have said how great of a match it was. So I've seen more positive things out of that match than I have negative, to be honest with you. And I have it on the DVR, and I'm intrigued to check it out only because of all the hype I've seen online about it. I'm not excited about it. I don't want to see her bloody, but is there a part of me that wants to see? It's almost like a bad car crash. You almost have to look, right? So, I don't know if I will watch it or not, but I've thought about it. But I just don't think it has a place in today's wrestling. And I don't think it has a place in wrestling at all as far as the women are concerned. But that's my opinion. And it's not against AEW. If WWE did it, I wouldn't be a fan of it.
It was interesting that the amount of blood that happened in that match, not the exploding barbed wire death match that we saw. You
know what was amazing about that? The amount of explosives that didn't go off in that match.
Well, we all know, again, Fred's loyalty to AEW is definitely very extreme. Speaking of that, let's now talk.
They had one shot. They had me intrigued enough to watch one of their pay-per-views, and they fucking blew it. And that third F-bomb is once again brought to you in part by Fred DeCourt and WrestlingInc.com.
Maybe we'll do a whole episode on just your thoughts on AEW in general down the road.
Oh, baby, let's go.
I'm sure our loyal listeners would love to hear 1 hour of you just ranting about your thoughts on AEW as a whole. But we have to move on now to our final topic, which, of course, is we're going to do our prediction of Fastlane. And the reason that this is kind of an abbreviated version is they actually took away a match. So we're only looking at 5 confirmed matches as of Thursday night. We're recording this pretty late on Thursday. It's right now about 10 o'clock Eastern. And there's 5 confirmed matches for the show. So we're going to just go do round robin style like we always do. But let's kick it off with probably not the opening match, but it's going to be the first match we talk about here. And that's Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus. Now, Fred, I know you are looking forward to this. You love this feud. It actually has won me over quite a bit over the last few weeks. But who do you got in this match? And do you feel like we've seen this match a few times now since they wrestled on Raw?
Well, we saw it on Raw. They had that great match a couple of weeks ago. I love the bro kick into the Claymore. That finish was tremendous. And they brawled on Raw, but I think they only had the one actual match.
Yeah, you're right. I think it was only one match, but it was a few different tussle, we'll call it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. So I think they're going to have a great match. Now, I would normally say the match would be Drew McIntyre's to win, but with what I said before about maybe possibly making it a triple threat, I wouldn't be surprised if there is no finish. Okay. Right? Because it's not as far as I know, it's not like a last man standing or no DQ or unsang. It's not any stipulation yet that I'm aware of. So with that being said, a disqualification or a count out or something is plausible. And I can see that being. So I'm actually not going to pick anybody. I'm going with a non-finish on this.
Nick, who do you got? And are you excited for this match?
I'm not super excited for it. You know what I'm excited for? Sheamus does nothing for me from an excitement standpoint, but what I think is going to be really good about this match is they kind of already boasted that it's going to be one of the most physical matches that you've ever seen. And we've seen some matches that in the past history that were extremely stiff. You know, William Regal's had some matches in the past. You know, Vader's had some matches in the past, which almost gave it a believability due to the how just truly how stiff that match is. And I do think when you look at a match like this, and of course I think Drew's going to win. You know, he's on the road to WrestleMania. How do you make Sheamus look great in a loss? You make him look great in a loss by having the two of them beat the shit out of each other for 20 minutes. Bruises, you know, maybe even a bloody lip here or there. I mean, they're both tough guys. They both can handle it. So maybe they do pop each other a couple times from a believability standpoint. We've seen Brock do it too to get a point across. So, you know, I think the match will be super physical. I'm excited to see it from that standpoint. I don't think Sheamus is going to win. I think Drew needs it more. I think Drew's going to win the match.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Drew as well, too. Fred, I like your idea of then maybe the no finish, especially if they're going to work Sheamus somehow into the WWE Championship title picture. But if I'm making a solid pick, I'm going to go McIntyre just because he can't lose on the road to WrestleMania, right? We're 3 weeks out or whatever, 3.5 weeks out at this point. Biggest show of the year. Drew McIntyre going against Bobby Lashley. So I'm going McIntyre to win this match here.
I just want to throw this idea in. Now, I said no finish, right? Which is something I certainly can see. And to your point, you said you can't see McIntyre losing on the road to WrestleMania, right? I mean, he's the number one contender. He's going to face Lashley for the title.
Right.
But what if Sheamus does win? And now Sheamus says, listen, I beat the number one contender. I should be going to WrestleMania. And they could work him in that way, too, with Sheamus beating Drew McIntyre at Fastlane. I'm not predicting that Sheamus is winning. I'm still going with a no finish, but that's another option. Sheamus could win and then have reason to say to Adam Pearce, hey, what the hell? So you never know.
It wouldn't be the worst idea. It wouldn't be the worst idea. I think Sheamus has a lot of work to do personally to win me over for him to be in the WWE Championship match. And you got three more Raws to do so, plus Fastlane. So let's see what happens on Sunday. Nevertheless, though, it's definitely going to be a physical match. Let's talk about the Intercontinental Championship match. And this match, on the contrary, I'm looking actually very much forward to. And that's Big E defending the Intercontinental Championship against the new Apollo Crews. You guys like his new gimmick, first off? I love it. I think it's great.
Love it.
This is definitely
it's something different.
Finally, he feels like, yeah. He feels like the star that he should be. When he first got signed, I said, oh, this guy's going to be fucking money. This guy is huge. You know, he's going to be great. You know, he's a big guy, but can move like a cruiserweight. You know, he made a big name for himself as Yuha Nation on the Indies and wherever he was. And then didn't have a great NXT run, to be honest. And then I thought, okay, he got to the main roster. He's going to have a good run on the main roster. He's been on the main roster 4 years, going to be 5 in the fall. And hasn't done much, you know. This is the first time he's had a strong booking, which is important. You know, you're only as good as how you're booked, right? So
sure,
they put a new coat of paint on him, or paint a coat, as Bruce Pritchard likes to say, and I love it. I think it refreshes him. It makes him seem like a serious contender, and we'll see what happens from here.
So who do you guys who gets the W?
I still have Big E winning. I mean, I don't see Big E losing, and Big E should win. I don't think Apollo should win yet. I wouldn't mind to see them have another match at WrestleMania, to be honest. I always enjoy when the Intercontinental title is defended at WrestleMania, and it'd be a great spot for both guys. I mean, personally, I think they should have maybe saved it for Mania, kept Big E out because, you know, Apollo took E out, and he finally returned last week. Kept him out even a little longer, maybe. But whatever. But we'll see what they got in store for Mania, but I'm going with Big E.
I think this is the match that should have the schmaz finish, right? I don't know if there's going to be a no contest, but this is the match that I definitely want to see at WrestleMania. So I'm hoping however they get there. My prediction is I'm going to go Big E by disqualification, though. something's going to happen. Apollo's going to get pissed off, maybe hit him with a chair or something like that.
Or the steps. They've been using the steps a lot.
Yeah, or the steps, right? I like that idea. Schmaz finish. Big E's wins by DQ. Kind of a lackluster for Fastlane. Just have the rematch, for Apollo to come out and say, hey, give me one more shot. This time, maybe no disqualification at WrestleMania. Nick, who do you got in this match?
I'll go Apollo to be different. I think Apollo will win, and that'll set up the rematch for me.
Okay, so you think
he'll win?
Sorry, you think Apollo's going to win the belt, or you think by DQ?
I think he'll win. I think he's going to win the belt. I think he'll win the belt, and it'll set up a feud. Maybe Big E wins it back at Mania, but I'll go Apollo. In the win, he will win the title. I think his character needs it more. Big E needs to go into the main event picture. He doesn't need the Intercontinental title. We all know that. We all agree on that. So give it to Apollo. Give it to somebody who needs it more. Big E doesn't need it.
Yeah, I think this year is definitely going to be a big year for Big E.
By this time next year, Big E will be in the main event.
Yeah,
I hope so.
And I wouldn't be if he's in the main event of WrestleMania next year.
Yeah.
Probably be against Goldberg for the title or something.
That's his favorite wrestler, so you know what? Don't laugh.
Could happen. Never say never, as they say. The next match is probably the most intriguing match of the night, and that's Randy Orton versus Alexa Bliss. So, Nick, I know you're probably chomping at the bits here, already rolling your eyes. What are your thoughts on this match, and who do you got, buddy?
It's not going to be a match. I don't know what they're going to do.
It's listed. WWE has officially listed as a match, so it's a match, my friend.
Oh, no.
I know, messing with you.
I get it's a build match, but I don't see it happening that way. And I'll be honest with you, I kind of soured just a little bit on this feud overall. I just feel like it's gone on too long. It shouldn't have gone on for as long as it has. It's like,
really?
I'm not into it, and I'm somebody that's like huge on the slow build, but
I was gonna say that's what I love the slow build.
I think this is
it's the only one that has it.
Yeah.
And this one to me is kind of like, I think it peaked a little bit earlier on. And there's been some far-fetched stuff, and I get it with The Undertaker and all these different guys have far-fetched stuff, and it worked. But you kind of lose me when you're setting someone on fire. And now I just think they could have did something different to further the storyline along rather than Alexa Bliss versus Randy Orton. Like, it's not going to be a match. Like, what are we doing?
Well,
that's just it's getting used to build.
Yeah, are you at least intrigued to see what they do? Because it's clearly not going to be. I mean, listen, unless I'm wrong, unless Randy Orton starts out the match with a suplex on Alexa Bliss, I'll be shocked. But are you intrigued to see the route that they go?
Well, I'd like to see it and see what's going on, but to me, it'll probably be something. Alexa Bliss won't be there. The Fiend will come out and just beat up Randy Orton. Conrad Thompson was on the show at this point 2 or 3 weeks ago and, mentioned that he felt like something big was going to happen at Peacock because it's the first show really, on the Peacock network. So they're going to do something really, really big. Well, if you look at the list of matches, there's not a lot going on that you could say, oh, man, this is like, this is a big-time match. Like, most of it either furthers the storyline to WrestleMania or is going to build to a match at WrestleMania. So this is the only thing where, if Bray Wyatt comes back and he's, looks different and, just really beats the hell out of Randy Orton, that's a semi-jaw-dropping moment. I mean, so I think that they can go somewhere with that. But to bill it as what they're billing it as is like, come on. Nobody expects this match to happen.
So are you picking a winner for this match or no?
If I got to pick a winner, I'll pick Randy Orton. Otherwise, I think the match never happens, and we see the return of Bray Wyatt, and he beats the shit out of Orton.
All right, Fred, if you pick a winner if you want, or give us your prediction how it's going to end.
I mean, I think this, like I said, this match is being used as a tool to set up Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt, as it should be. It's a gimmick. The whole feud is a gimmick, so I have nothing against that. But if I had to pick a winner, I could somehow see Alexa Bliss winning.
You think we see The Fiend on Sunday?
No. At this point, we're 3 weeks out. Just save it till Mania.
Here's
you waited this long. You've done it.
I've been thinking about this. Here's my prediction what's going to happen. Okay, you heard it here first on Mark's side of the ring.
And in case Wrestling Inc. wants to steal it.
In case Wrestling Inc. wants to take my quotes on this. Randy Orton and Alexa, they're going to be about to, I don't know, lock up together.
They're going to tangle.
Right? And all of a sudden, the lights are going to go out. Weird music, shit's going to happen. They're going to come back on. Randy Orton's unconscious on the floor. Alexa Bliss pins him for the 1, 2, 3. You heard it here first. Randy Orton out. Alexa Bliss. You like that?
Why'd you look like that? You're like,
she's out cold, you know? I don't know.
What did she do to him, my boy?
My boy. Alexa Bliss gets the W. I'm actually going to pick Alexa Bliss. We do a monthly pool. I run a monthly WWE pay-per-view pool, and I'm actually going with Bliss. And I told the people in my pool that I would give a no contest because nobody thinks it's going to be a real match. But I said you're going to get double points, maybe even triple points. I'm still thinking about it if you're brave enough to pick a winner. And I'm picking Alexa Bliss. You heard it here first. Alexa Bliss.
Yeah, wow. Strong behind the Bliss pick. All right.
Absolutely.
Here's just to play devil's advocate on, saving them for Mania. We've seen them unveil things. We've seen them unveil things in front of a live crowd, and the crowd shits all over it, whether it be the first Universal title, the crowd booed all over it and almost hijacked the show because they thought it looked so stupid. I would have to think that they're at least going to be the thought's got to be in the back of their head that if they unveil this guy at Mania and he looks dumb or the crowd's not into it, the crowd could shit all over. And now you got a Mania match, a marquee Mania match, and the crowd's more concerned about the way Bray Wyatt looks than, the match itself. So, I get the point of saving them. This isn't the Undertaker return at WrestleMania 20. We all knew what he was going to look like. This is something totally different. I think it might be wise for them to unveil him early for the fans to see.
Interesting take. Let's move on now to the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship match. And this is a rematch that we saw at Elimination Chamber, I should say. We got the current WWE Women's Tag Team Champion, Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax, defending the titles against Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. Fred, who do you got in this match? Do you think Sasha and Bianca are going to walk into WrestleMania as tag team champions this time?
It'd be an interesting part to the story. I wouldn't be against it. They're not as close as they were in the beginning of the rivalry. In the beginning, it was all fun and games, and it was, about having a good match at Mania. And now we've seen Bianca get a little hot at Sasha because Reginald has screwed things up for them the past few weeks. So I could still see them winning, and I like that idea of them as tag champs going into WrestleMania. It's happened twice before. But at the same time, at this point, I don't think it's necessary for the match. And I think that Nia and Shayna can get more out of it by that being something else at WrestleMania, them defending the titles that they've been holding on to for quite some time now. So I'm going to go with Shayna and Nia to retain it.
All right, great. Nick?
Same. I don't have a lot to say on it. It's a bathroom break match to me.
I'm curious to see. I'm going to go with...
Nick looks like he's ready for bed. Like, I don't give a shit about this pay-per-view. Just let's end it.
I don't give a shit about that match. I mean, I understand why they're putting it on. It's going to, further build the storyline, create more turmoil, create more... But, it's... You guys know off the top of your head very quickly, do you know the two other times Fred mentioned?
What?
Yeah, it's Eddie and Ray from 21 and Shawn and Cena from 23.
Nice. I'm going with Shayna and Nia. I think Bianca turns on Sasha or vice versa. One of them ends up costing each other the match. That's my prediction. Shayna and Nia walk into WrestleMania with the...
Yeah, I think one of them, whether Reginald's involved or not. Now we have another wrench with Reginald being kind of with Nia Jax a little bit, right? So that's even more interesting. But whether Reginald screws up again or not, somehow they're going to lose, and I think Bianca's going to continue to get pissed at Sasha.
You know what's going to happen if Reginald screws up again, right?
What?
They're going to lay him out like this.
That could happen. Oh, him and Randy.
Did you see, real quick, before we get into the main event, just 2 seconds, on Twitter, did you see that Carmella was taking applications for her new sommelier?
Yeah.
Did you see who posted a video?
No.
It was James Ellsworth. It was amazing. You gotta go watch that.
He tags her in shit all the time, and she never acknowledges it.
I know. She probably hates
He's probably on a no contact list because he had that issue a couple of years ago. But I don't know. Nothing ever came of it. But
yeah, it's definitely check out that video. It's a good.
I'll have to check it out.
One
they were good together though at the time. Hell, he won the Money in the Bank for her.
That's right, he did. Let's move on now to the main event, though. And this actually is another match that's intriguing, not because I think the decision is in jeopardy here, but where Daniel Bryan kind of folds into things. We got Roman Reigns defending the Universal title against Daniel Bryan. Nick, I'll kick this one off to you first. I'm thinking you're going to say Roman Reigns for the W here, but more importantly, where do you think Daniel Bryan goes from here? Do you think we see the triple threat at WrestleMania now? Does Daniel Bryan earn the triple threat at WrestleMania at this point?
If we're going to see a triple threat, I'd rather it be Daniel Bryan, Edge, and Reigns, but I don't think that that's going to happen. And truly, I don't know where they're going to go with Daniel Bryan because I think his time is done when it comes to like title picture stuff. He's not going to be the champ again anytime soon, or maybe not even at all. I just that ship has sailed to me. I don't know what they're going to do with them. I hope it's the triple threat. I think Roman Reigns wins the match. We'll see what happens, but I don't think he's going to be in the title picture after this.
Tomorrow night's a big SmackDown because we have Edge versus Jay Uso, and the winner will be the special enforcer to that main event match. So I wonder, I have a feeling, obviously, Edge is going to win tomorrow night on his first match on SmackDown in, I think, over a decade.
Mm-hmm.
But it'll be interesting to see if Edge somehow inadvertently cost Daniel Bryan the match at Fastlane, and because of that, we end up getting Daniel Bryan added to the main event here. So, Fred, who do you got for this match? And you think Bryan gets added to the main event at WrestleMania?
I can't vote against Roman Reigns on pay-per-view. With that being said, the way they've been building it, I wouldn't be surprised if Bryan got added. And as much as I love Daniel Bryan, and in any normal instance, I would be for Bryan getting added to a match and making it a triple threat. But I won't be mad if they do it. I think Roman, Edge, and Bryan would be great. But like I said before, as much as I love triple threats, I think a main event, unless well-deserved, should be one-on-one. And personally, I want Edge and Roman one-on-one. So this is the match that I wouldn't screw that up. I would do, Edge and Roman one-on-one. I would save Bryan, for something else. I don't know what else he could do. So that kind of makes it difficult. So I'm going to go with Roman, though. I'm just going to, I think they're going to stick to the plan, Roman and Edge one-on-one. Maybe, I wouldn't. What about Daniel Bryan and Jay Uso in another match? I know they've had a match. They had a steel cage. Where do they go from there? But what if Jimmy comes back? That throws something out. So who knows?
Yeah.
Because I want Jey Uso to have a big match at WrestleMania. He should.
He actually should, right? I think he's had, and we talked about this when we did our award show at the end of December, but to me, he's had the breakout year of any wrestler, right? Somebody that wasn't on the map in we'll say 2019, but instead 2020 was pretty much his year, his breakout year. So I think he definitely deserves a worthy WrestleMania match, which obviously he's never had before. So I'd like to see either him and Daniel Bryan or him and maybe somebody else, maybe him and Kevin Owens at WrestleMania, since they've also been feuding.
Yeah, what's Kevin Owens going to do? He was just on the bump yesterday talking about, he didn't, he doesn't have anything really planned. And it's a shame because he was in such a high-profile feud with Roman prior to this. Now he's got nothing. So who knows? What about Daniel Bryan and Kevin Owens? I don't know how they can come up with that, and they're both good guys, but that'd be tremendous.
That would be a good match, absolutely. A lot of question marks. Oh, I'm going with Roman Reigns, obviously, as my official pick for the night to cap off Fastlane. So a lot of question marks to be answered. We're 3 weeks out. On Sunday, we'll be 3 weeks out from WrestleMania, I should say. So I'm curious to see how Fastlane, the final stop on the road to WrestleMania, as Vince McMahon would say. But guys, appreciate the show and the love as always. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Of course, you can always catch our shows TrueExactRadio.com, number one way to find us. But you can, anywhere you get your podcast, as Nick said earlier, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, the podcast app on iPhones, anywhere that you get any podcast content. We'll be back next week with the Fastlane Fallout plus whatever happens on this Friday Night SmackDown and Monday Night Raw. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining me tonight, and I'll see you both next week.
Take care.
Thanks, Nick.